ones on my left, workers who are braving the December cold and the much deeper chill of unfair labor practices in this city and across this country, and the fear that has come with that of union busting while they demand the better working conditions that they deserve. Like so many working people across this city, these are not demands of greed. These are demands for decency. These are workers who are simply being asked to be treated with the respect that they deserve. They're being asked that their labor be repaid in a manner that allows them to build a dignified life. And I joined them because I want to do everything that I can to show my solidarity, but also because I know that far too often the voices of everyday working people are not amplified with the volume that management so easily receives. So I want to share a few numbers with you here this afternoon, numbers that I hope will place this struggle into some sense of perspective. 36.2 billion. That is the amount of money that Starbucks made in revenue just last year. 95.8 million. That's the compensation package that Starbucks CEO Brian Niccol earned for 4 months of work last year. 6,666. That is how much times larger Niccol's pay was than the average Starbucks barista's salary. 400. That is how many labor law violations the NLRB has found that Starbucks has committed. 120. That's the amount of stores that are on strike, and 85, the number of cities that they are taking place in. Now, what these numbers show us are a two-pronged picture. On one side, corporate greed and self-enrichment at the cost of its own workers, and on the other, remarkable solidarity by those workers who have been exploited and mistreated time and time again. Solidarity, as much as we speak of it, we have to remember, is not an abstract concept. It is measured in picket lines, stood on in the rain and in the sleet. It is measured in rent payments that workers do not know if they will be able to meet, childcare bills they do not know whether they will be able to afford. And it is measured in strangers who have never met one another, linking arms to fight for a shared goal and a fairer future. Because how else could we describe being on a picket line with Starbucks workers, alongside workers of 32BJ, alongside workers from HTC, alongside workers from WGA, alongside workers from every single sector across this city, because we understand that no matter our trade, we are workers at the end of the day. And I am proud to be here today, and proud that senior members of my transition team and administration have joined Starbucks picket lines in the days and weeks prior. And I'm proud to stand here alongside incredible elected officials at the city level, at the state level, and also to my left, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Because all of us are united in the belief that we must build a New York where every worker can live a life of decency. We must build a New York where our words do not ring hollow as we say that this is a union town. And we must build a New York where the workers who power it are able to afford to live in it. Thank you so much. And now, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Well, it is an honor for my wife and me to be here with you, to stand with striking Starbucks workers who are telling this company they are sick and tired of corporate greed and sick and tired of union busting.
That's right.
And what the mayor-elect just pointed out is that what is happening here on this picket line is happening all over this country. We are living in an economy where the people on top have never, ever had it so good. You got one man owning more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. And while the CEOs make unbelievable salaries, 60% of our people in Vermont, in New York City, all over this country are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay the rent, struggling to pay for health care, struggling to put food on the table. And what Zohran and I are dedicated to is creating a nation and an economy which works for all of us, not just the 1%. So I just want to thank the Starbucks workers for their courage here and around this country. We are going to prevail. Thank you very much.
Senator.
Just before we take a question, since I know we have some friends here with us, if we can first have a round of applause for the Starbucks workers themselves. We have Kai Fritz on my left, Noor Hayat on my right, and we have so many workers who have inspired us every single day, and I just want to say thank you before we even start the Q&A portion of this. And
Senator, do you want to see Chuck Schumer stay in power in the Senate?
Right now, what we're here to say that we are standing with Starbucks workers, and we're going to create an economy that works for all. And I'm proud to say that all over this country, we're seeing candidates doing exactly what the mayor-elect did here. They are running campaigns based on the grassroots. They're mobilizing volunteers. They're standing up to the oligarchy. And in fact, we are going to change this country.
Senator Sanders.
Regarding the allegations of union busting, can you be more specific about what maybe can be done to resolve that? Do you have a role in that as mayor-elect or as mayor, aside from protesting and picketing alongside these workers? And separately, I'd like to get your reaction, if possible, on the proposal within the city council to raise the city council's pay.
so I'll go first question, and then we can go back to the second one. You know, as I was walking in, Bernadette was asking me, when am I going to stop attending protests and be the mayor? And I said, technically January 1st, I will be the mayor. But I also want to make a point, because I think there's a through line in both of the questions, which is that when I become the mayor of this city, I'm going to continue to stand on picket lines with workers across the 5 boroughs. And I've said this to many of the unions that are here today, many of the rank and file, which is that we want to build an administration that is characterized by being there for workers every single step of the way. And sometimes in the fight for decency and dignity that workers are waging, their voices are drowned out. And when you are the mayor of New York City, you have with that a platform where you can speak about the hundreds of times that Starbucks has violated labor laws. A platform where you can speak about the fact that, yes, we celebrate what DCWP was able to accomplish in the largest ever settlement that has been won in this city, $28 million, and also that we will continue to commit funding, both of a fiscal kind and also of our own sustained commitment in terms of the political will necessary to ensure that we hold these kinds of corporations accountable.
A quick question for both of you.
Sorry, she just asked me. My focus is on the affordability agenda that I ran on. That's what I'm focused on delivering. But I look forward to speaking with the council about any of the issues they want to bring up.
So speaking of the affordability agenda, over the weekend, President Trump called himself the affordability president and he said this on Truth Social in all caps. He said he's lowered drug prices to levels never seen before. Do both of you see your stamp on that? And do you think he is the affordability president?
I will shock all of you in suggesting that the President of the United States is a pathological liar. He lies all of the time. And to tell the people of New York City and Vermont that you are the affordability president at a time when legislation that you have passed will be responsible, if we don't change it, in raising health care premiums for people on the Affordable Care Act on average, doubling, in some cases tripling and quadrupling. So maybe Trump should go out to those people who are going to see a doubling or tripling in their premiums and explain to them how he is the affordable president. Not to mention that his tariffs all over this country have driven prices clearly up.
And I would say that our focus is less on who is described as what and more that we actually deliver for the people of this city. And that is something that I have so appreciated in speaking with Senator Sanders, is the focus always has to come back to working people. And when you ask these Starbucks workers what the consequences are of a company that refuses to schedule them with any predictability, of a company that refuses to pay them a wage that they can actually afford to live in this city, it is that they do not know if they can call themselves New Yorkers any longer. And I am tired of walking into buildings in this city, meeting the workers there, asking them how long their commute was, and hearing that they in fact live in New Jersey. They live in Pennsylvania. They live in places that they can afford the rent, they can afford the mortgage. That place has to become New York City once again.
All right,
Do you think
hold on.
I was speaking with workers before you arrived, and they say that many of the scheduling issues addressed in the settlement actually haven't been addressed. It'll be up to your city hall to follow up on that. Will your city hall follow up? And if you could, sir, a comment on the casinos passed today. I know you have objections, but said you would not stand in the way. Is that still your position?
So to your first question, absolutely, my administration will follow up on this. And to your second question, I've expressed my skepticism and my own questions around the economic development that is often tied to casinos. And also I respect the will of voters who voted for this in a referendum. And I look forward to the prospect of working with unions to ensure that every job created is one that is actually a union job and that creates for a dignified life.
All right, Bernie, back to the pay raises. Are you worried, though, that you ran on this affordability message and one of your first actions as mayor could be approving a pay hike for yourself that could put you over $300,000? Mr. Sanders, what do you think? Should he be making $300,000?
Well, all I can tell you, for a variety of reasons, Congress has not had a pay raise, I think, in 15 years. I'll let the mayor deal with this issue.
People here are trying to make a living wage. Do you think that would pose a very odd optics situation for city council and yourself?
I'm not worried about the hypotheticals at this time. What I can tell you is that every single day from now until I become the mayor and then after that is going to be focused on how we can improve the working conditions for workers across the city and the conditions for every person who calls the city their home.
Emma, let's commit.
I wanted to see if you could respond to these allegations that Irfan Burji offered a job in your administration or a job in your transition team in exchange for donors to your super PAC.
So I do not know this man. I can be very clear and direct with you that the days of pay-to-play politics are coming to an end with my administration. We are an administration that will staff up on the basis of excellence, on the basis of outcomes, not on the basis of relationships.
All right, Sarah.
You're going to be mayor in 1 month. I'm wondering if you could lay out for us for your first year how you're going to prioritize what you're going to tackle.
I can tell you.
That's an easy question.
Very easy. The core of it is going to be on affordability. The core of it is going to be on fulfilling the central 3 campaign promises. There are many here. In fact, I think, Kai, you were saying that you were actually on stage with us at the Forest Hills rally, where we celebrated alongside Senator Sanders what this campaign really is about. It's a campaign that is about freezing the rent for rent-stabilized tenants, about making buses fast and free, and delivering universal childcare. It's a campaign that will be done in tandem with federal partners, with city council partners like Alexa Aviles and Tiffany Caban, who are here today, as well as with state partners like Assemblywoman Claire Valdez, who I think is also here today. And every single day has to be spent towards fulfilling that agenda, and then also, as was being said earlier, to ensuring that we are fully following through with the protections that New Yorkers already have, but are seldom actually utilized. We are speaking about laws being broken in this country and in this city, and yet so many corporations do so because they know they will never be held accountable. When we think about wage theft in this city, it is something that is rarely treated with the kind of seriousness of other levels of crime. We have to treat it all as something worthy of our attention.
Can I ask a question? Many of the workers in this city aren't immigrants. when you met with President Trump, did you get a concession from him around ICE raids and not moving into this city? And then I have a question for Bernie Sanders. And that question is, do you think if you succeed with your Fight Club and other senators,
With our what?
if you succeed with the Fight Club and other senators who support your mission to unseat the minority leader, Chuck Schumer, it will open up space for progressive candidates that represent what the two of you stand for today?
Want to go first?
I'll go first. When I met with the president, I made very clear that these kinds of raids are cruel and inhumane, that they are raids that do nothing to serve the interests of public safety, and that my responsibility is to be the mayor to each and every person that calls this city their home. And that includes millions of immigrants, of which I am one. And I am proud that I will be the first immigrant mayor of this city in generations. I'm prouder still for the fact that I will live up to the statue that we have in our harbor and the ideals which we have long proclaimed as being those of this city, but which have too often been ones we do not actually enforce and celebrate on a daily basis. That is who I will be as the mayor of this city.
In terms of what we're trying to do in the Senate, I think it is no great secret there are differences of opinion in the Democratic caucus. In the Senate, I'm an independent, and I caucus with the Democrats. And the difference is really manifested right here in New York City, in the mayor's race that just took place. In my view, Zohran Mamdani ran one of the great campaigns in the modern history of this country. He started off at 1% and he won. And how did he win? He won because he put together tens and tens of thousands of volunteers who knocked on doors. He won because he had the guts to talk about the oligarchs and saying that when he was going to become mayor and when he will become mayor, he's going to stand with the workers here at Starbucks and workers all over this city. And what we are seeing in America right now, in congressional races, in Senate races, you're seeing more and more candidates standing up exactly the same way that Zohran did. And they are standing up and saying that we need an economy that works for all. We're not going to let the billionaires get tax breaks while people lose their health insurance. We're going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage rather than a starvation wage. We're not going to be the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right, etc., etc. So you're seeing that evolve, and I think it's a good thing. And I think we have the grassroots of America behind us. What Zohran did inspired people all over this country, all over the world, and we're going to keep going forward in that direction.
So this, I want to get back to Starbucks for a second.
Yes.
This push is not new. This has been going on for several years now. Senator Sanders, I remember a few years ago, you drilled the then
We had a
CEO.
hearing, that's right, on my
Yeah.
committee, right.
What is different right now that wasn't the case then?
I can tell you that it feels as if we have reached a new day in the movement for workers across the city, where more and more New Yorkers are united in the belief that an honest day's work should be allowed to make that person afford the city that they call home. And there is an exhaustion amongst New Yorkers at the sheer contrast between these workers who cannot afford to live in this city and CEOs who are making $96 million a year on the backs of those same workers' labor. And that exhaustion is one that has also given rise to a movement where people are demanding what they deserve. And I'm proud to be standing here as the mayor-elect who will be on these picket lines and not only commit to the funding that DCWP requires to continue to enforce these kinds of provisions, but also to make it clear that this is part and parcel of the work of making this an affordable city. It's also ensuring that these workers can live a dignified life.
I'll tell you what is also different is that 4 years have come and gone, and hundreds of shops have voted to join unions. 12,000 workers have voted to join unions, and yet Starbucks has refused to sit down and negotiate a fair contract. Not one Starbucks shop in America is union. That's what the difference is. 4 years come and gone.
All right, Morgan, last question. Go ahead.
Hi, Mayor Lex and Senator. Thank you. Just wondering, you said you're going to be striking with workers. Just what does that look like? Obviously, you can't be striking every single day with workers, but what does that look like, and how are you going to split your time, and which cause will then be maybe the top one for you? And then, Senator, this just broke, but Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says that several of his New York offices received bomb threats. Just hoping that you guys can roll that.
I think that's horrific news. And I'm thankful to hear that the senator and his staff are safe. And I think that this moment that we are living in, where political violence has become the norm, is one that we should never accept. And that is incumbent upon all of us, I think, to be fighting for that future across this country, no matter party, no matter person. To your question about what it means to stand with workers. You know, the other day, we had heard that there were workers on strike in the Bronx, and they were facing the prospect of management hiring scabs, and management wanted them to work more hours without additional pay. And we knew that we had a press availability scheduled coming up. We thought, why not have this at the picket line? Why not bring that attention to the workers' struggle themselves as we also take questions from the press? These are some of the opportunities that we have in thinking about how we engage with our city, how we share this message across the 5 boroughs. And so today, it is an opportunity for us to stand alongside Starbucks workers in their fight for decency, their fight for dignity. And I will continue to take those opportunities every single day. Because what we have found is that the demands of workers are ones which, the more people know about them, the more people agree with them. The struggle those workers have is that not enough people know about their fight. Not enough people know what they are being forced to accept. So the more that you can bring that awareness, the more that you can bring that attention, the easier it is for workers to demand the bare minimum. And that is what I will continue to do as the next mayor of this city. And I also just want to acknowledge, I see State Senator Andrew Bernardis is here as well, who has been a fighter for workers, especially as I was seeing PSC on the picket line and the fighter for staff and faculty at CUNY.
Let me just say, I have been reading in the papers and seeing on TV that Zohran's agenda is a radical agenda. What amazes me is that when you talk about stabilizing rents for working people so that they're not paying 50 or 60% of their incomes for rent, that's not radical. Making sure that the little kids, the future of America, have decent and quality childcare is not radical. Making sure that people in low-income communities can get decent quality food is not radical. We have got to change our perspective. What is radical is giving $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. What is radical is being the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people. What is radical is when the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 93%. So standing with working people is not radical, it's what the American people want, and those are the changes we've got to bring about. Thank you.